My friend, life isn't a race, it's a masterpiece in progress. But here's the truth. Most people are so busy trying to push life into happening that they forget to let life unfold. We chase what we think we want. We grab, we hustle, we force. And in that rush, we lose something precious: peace. You see, inner peace isn't found by controlling the chaos. It's found by dancing with it. It's not about giving up. It's about trusting the process. So today, let's dive into 5 powerful lessons that'll teach you how to stop forcing and start flowing, how to let life meet you halfway, and how to finally feel at peace with the journey you're on. Have you ever stood by a river and really have watched it move? Not just glanced at it, but truly seen how it dances through the landscape, bending, curving, gliding past every obstacle in its way. The river doesn't fight the stones that block its path. It doesn't complain about how far the ocean is, and it certainly doesn't stop to argue with gravity. It just flows steady, calm, relentless. There's something profoundly wise in that simple motion, something that whispers the secret of peace to anyone patient enough to listen. That's life. That's your journey. Somewhere along the line, we've been taught that we must push, chase, and force our way through everything. That success only comes from struggle. That love only stays if we fight for it. That happiness is earned through constant exhaustion. But that's a lie dressed as ambition. The truth is, life flows best when you stop forcing it. Like the river, your path already knows where it's meant to go. You don't have to tear through the mountains to reach the sea. You just have to keep moving with trust, with purpose, and with patience. Think about it. When was the last time something beautiful came into your life by force? Did that friendship you chased with desperate energy ever feel right? Did that opportunity you tried to hold together with sheer will ever bring peace? Probably not, because what's truly meant for you doesn't demand struggle, it aligns. It fits naturally, like pieces of a puzzle finally falling into place. Sometimes the river reminds us that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to fight to be strong. There's immense courage in surrender. Not the surrender of giving up, but the surrender of letting go. Letting go of what you can't control, of people who won't stay, of outcomes that refuse to unfold on your schedule. It's funny, isn't it? The moments that changed us the most were never the ones we planned. Maybe you lost that job you thought defined you, and in that empty space, you discovered a new passion, something that lit your soul instead of draining it. Maybe that person you thought was your forever walked away, and their absence made room for a deeper kind of love, one that didn't need chasing or proving. Or maybe you simply stopped fighting the way things were, and suddenly the peace you'd been searching for showed up quietly, without fanfare. Like sunrise after a storm. That's the power of not forcing. It's the universe's way of saying, relax, I've got this. When you stop struggling to make everything fit your timeline, life begins to align with a rhythm greater than your own. You start to see that every delay has meaning, every detour has a lesson, and every closed door might just be saving you from walking into the wrong room. And yet, we resist this truth. We live in a world that glorifies control over emotions, over people, over time. But control is a mirage. The tighter we grip, the faster things slip through our fingers. Look at the river again. The moment it tries to fight the current, it loses its flow. The moment it accepts the path, it gains power. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Because peace doesn't come from dominating the world. It comes from dancing with it. It comes from knowing when to push forward and when to let go. It comes from recognizing that even the detours are part of the design. There's an old saying that water cuts through rock not by force, but by persistence. The river doesn't rush, it just keeps moving inch by inch, moment by moment. That's how we find peace, not in forcing the outcome, but in trusting the journey. You don't have to know how every turn will play out, you just have to keep flowing. So when life feels heavy, when the path seems blocked, remember the river. Don't fight the rocks, move around them. Don't curse the slow current. Let it teach you patience. Don't panic when you can't see the ocean. It's still there, waiting, just beyond the next bend. Because the truth is, the river F always finds its way home, and so will you. The moment you stop forcing, you start flowing. The moment you trust the process, life begins to meet you halfway. What's meant for you will never need to be dragged into existence. It will come naturally like water returning to the sea. So breathe, let go, flow. The universe has been waiting for you to stop fighting long enough to realize you were never meant to push your way through life. You were meant to move with it. We humans have this deep, almost stubborn belief that we're the masters of our fate, the architects of every detail in our lives. We plan everything, from what we'll achieve next year to what we'll eat next week. We make schedules, chase deadlines, and draw blueprints for a future we think we can bend to our will. And when things don't go as planned, when life dares to color outside our carefully drawn lines, we panic. We feel like we're losing control, as if the universe is somehow betraying us. But here's the truth that's both humbling and freeing. Control is an illusion. We were never meant to command the chaos of life. Think about it. You can't control the weather, no matter how much you prepare for a sunny day. You can't control the economy, even if you study every trend and make every cautious move. And you certainly can't control how people see you, love you, or leave you. Life is a wild, unpredictable storm, and we spend so much energy trying to stop the wind instead of learning how to sail with it. There's a story I once heard about a pilot flying through turbulence. The wind was violent, the clouds thick, and visibility almost gone. But when asked later how he stayed calm, he said something simple yet profound. I couldn't control the wind, but I could adjust my sails. That's it. That's the secret. Control isn't about domination. It's about direction. It's not about forcing life to match your expectations, but about guiding yourself through whatever it gives you. And that's where responsibility comes in. You see, control belongs to the ego, but responsibility belongs to the soul. Control tries to change the world. Responsibility changes you. When you let go of the need to control everything, you discover a quieter, stronger power, the ability to choose your response. You might not be able to stop the storm, but you can decide whether you'll drown in fear or dance in the rain. Look at the great stories of our time. Every hero who's ever faced adversity didn't conquer it through control. They rose through adaptability. They accepted what couldn't be changed and focused on what could. They turned chaos into creation. And that's what life asks of you, too. Not perfection, not mastery, just awareness, courage, and responsibility. When you trade control for responsibility, everything shifts. You stop being the victim of circumstance and become the artist of response. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What can I learn from this?" That simple shift in mindset can turn pain into purpose. It transforms fear into wisdom and failure into direction. Imagine two people caught in a storm at sea. One screams at the waves, demanding they stop. The other grabs the oar, adjusts the sails, and steers with the wind. Which one survives? Which one grows stronger? Life will always bring storms. You can't negotiate with the wind, but you can decide how to steer your ship. That decision, that response, that's your real power. Sometimes life takes from you what you thought you couldn't live without. It breaks plans, ends chapters, and reroutes your story. And in those moments, the illusion of control shatters, painfully, beautifully. But when you look back, you'll realize that those moments shaped you the most. Losing control often leads to finding yourself. We live in a world that praises control, the hustle, the grind, the idea that you can shape everything if you just push hard enough. But the truth is, trying to control everything only leads to exhaustion and anxiety. The tighter you grip, the more life slips through your fingers. Peace begins when you loosen that grip, when you stop trying to command the wind and start learning how to fly with it. There's strength in trust, not blind faith, but grounded confidence that life has a rhythm beyond your understanding. Every missed opportunity, every delay, every unexpected turn, they all have meaning, even when you can't see it yet. You don't need to control it. You just need to stay awake enough to respond with grace. That's what responsibility is, the art of staying steady when the world isn't. It's choosing your attitude, your actions, your energy, even when everything around you spins out of control. Responsibility says, I can't change the storm, but I can change how I face it. And maybe that's the point. Life doesn't need you to control it. It needs you to cooperate with it, to trust it, to participate in it fully, even when it doesn't go your way. Because the truth is, peace isn't found in mastering life. It's found in mastering yourself. When you finally let go of control, when you stop demanding that life obey your timeline, you find a quiet freedom. You begin to breathe again. You stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. You start seeing that the storm was never your enemy. It was your teacher. It was there to remind you that you were never powerless, only misdirected. So adjust your sails. Don't fight the wind. Ride it. Don't curse the storm. Learn from it. You can't control what happens, but you can always control how you rise after it does. And that's where your true power has always been waiting. You've probably heard the saying, what you resist persists. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but it's one of the greatest truths life ever teaches us. Resistance isn't strength, it's friction. It's the invisible hand that turns moments of challenge into mountains of suffering. When we resist what A is, we don't stop the storm. We just make it harder to stand in the rain. We suffer twice, once from the reality itself, and again from our refusal to accept it. Think about an airplane flying through the sky. When turbulence hits, the pilot doesn't curse the wind or try to overpower it. He doesn't pull the controls tighter and fight against nature. No, he adjusts altitude. He rides it out. Why? Because he knows turbulence isn't forever. He trusts that it's temporary, just a part of the journey. He knows that fighting the air will only make the flight rougher. That's the kind of wisdom we need in life. When things shake, when life feels unstable, we must learn to stop resisting and start adjusting. But that's not easy, is it? The human mind loves control. It loves the illusion that if we just resist hard enough, if we push back, argue, deny, or force, somehow reality will bend. But it never does. It's like trying to hold back the tide with your hands. The more you fight the waves, the more you tire yourself out. The ocean doesn't care about your resistance. It just is. The moment you stop fighting it, you start floating. In life, the same thing happens. Maybe you're in a season you don't like. Maybe you're facing rejection, heartbreak, or uncertainty. The instinct is to resist, to ask, why me? Or to demand that things go back to how they were. But that resistance traps you. It keeps you stuck in the pain instead of moving through it. Acceptance, on the other hand, doesn't mean you approve of what's happening. It means you're wise enough to say, this is real, and I'm still going to find peace in it. That's not weakness. That's mastery. The truth is, life isn't here to match your expectations. It's here to grow you, and growth is never comfortable. It's like flying through turbulence. Your instinct says hold tighter, but the real solution is to loosen your grip and trust the process. The more you resist discomfort, the louder it becomes. The more you resist change, the longer you stay stuck in the old chapter. I once heard about a man who spent years trying to fix a failing business. He poured everything into it. Time, money, energy, even as it drained him. He couldn't let it go. To him, giving up felt like failure. But when he finally accepted that it was time to move on, something shifted. He didn't lose. He freed himself. He took everything he learned, started something new, and found success beyond what he could have imagined. It wasn't until he stopped resisting that life opened new doors. That's how it works. Resistance blocks blessings. It blinds us to opportunities waiting just beyond the struggle. We can't see clearly while fighting reality because our energy is spent on what should be instead of what is. Peace begins the moment you stop saying, "This shouldn't be happening," and start asking, "What can this teach me?" Even nature reminds us of this. Trees bend with the wind so they don't break. Rivers flow around obstacles instead of colliding with them. The seasons change without protest. The leaves don't cling to the branches, begging for summer to stay. There's wisdom in that rhythm. Everything that resists too much eventually cracks under the pressure. But everything that flows, that adapts, that accepts, it survives, it thrives. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring or stop trying. It means you stop fighting the wrong battle. You can't control every event, but you can control your state of mind. You can't decide when the turbulence hits, but you can decide how calmly you'll fly through it. It's not surrender, it's skill. It's the art of knowing when to act and when to let go. When you stop resisting, something amazing happens. Peace sneaks in quietly. You start to breathe again. You stop rehearsing the pain and start observing it. You stop shouting at the storm and start hearing the lessons it's whispering. And slowly, almost magically, the turbulence begins to fade. Life smooths out. You find balance again. We've been taught that strength means fighting every battle, but real strength is choosing which battles deserve your energy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is release. Release control, release expectations, release the need to have it all figured out. Because when you finally let go, you realize that the universe wasn't against you. It was guiding you through every twist, through every shake, through every moment of turbulence, to a higher altitude you couldn't reach while you were resisting. So, the next time life throws turbulence your way, remember, don't fight the wind. Adjust your altitude. The storm isn't there to break you. It's there to teach you how to fly smoother. The moment you stop resisting, peace finds you. The ride becomes lighter. And suddenly, you realize you were never meant to conquer the sky. You were meant to flow with it. Let's be honest. When something is truly meant for you, it doesn't demand struggle, chasing, or endless convincing. It just flows. You don't have to beg someone to see your worth, force opportunities to stay, or twist yourself into someone you're not just to belong. What's real never needs to be forced. It moves with ease, like a current carrying you in the right direction, not dragging you under. Think about it. Have you ever tried to open a door that wasn't meant for you? You push, you pull, you strain, but it just won't budge. Then one day, you walk by another door, one you barely touch, and it swings open effortlessly. That's how life works. The right things don't make you feel like you're constantly breaking yourself to make them work. They align, they fit, they flow. We live in a world that glorifies forcing success, forcing relationships, forcing happiness. We're told that if we just push hard enough, everything will fall into place. But life doesn't respond to force. It responds to flow. When you try to make something happen before it's ready or hold on to something that's already over, you're not moving forward. You're wrestling with resistance. And that resistance drains your energy, your joy, and your peace. Nature has a way of showing us this truth. Look at flowers. They don't fight their way to bloom. They open when it's time. The sun doesn't rush the morning. It rises when the world is ready to receive its light. Every part of nature has a rhythm, a divine timing, and it never hurries, yet everything is accomplished. The universe doesn't force. It flows. And you too are part of that design. Maybe you've been holding on to a friendship that constantly leaves you feeling unseen. Maybe you're chasing a dream that once inspired you but now only brings exhaustion. Or maybe you've been trying to prove your worth to someone who was never meant to understand you in the first place. Whatever it is, ask yourself this: does it feel like flow or force? Because the truth is, anything that constantly drains you is trying to tell you something. It's time to let go. When you stop forcing what's not meant for you, something miraculous happens. Space opens up. Space for peace. Space for new beginnings. Space for the things that are meant for you to finally arrive. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. But when you open your palm, the water rests there, calm, still, and gentle. That's how life's blessings work. They don't respond to desperation. They respond to surrender. And surrender isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's saying, I trust that what's right for me will stay, and what isn't will fall away. It's trusting that letting go doesn't mean losing. It means clearing space for better things to grow. Sometimes the universe removes people, plans, and paths not to punish you, but to protect you. It's preparing you for something greater, something that aligns with your soul, not your fear. There's a quiet strength in knowing when to stop pushing, because force creates friction, but flow creates harmony. Look at the moments in your life when everything seemed to click. The people who entered effortlessly, the opportunities that just felt right, the decisions that didn't require overthinking. Those weren't coincidences, they were alignment. They were signs that you were moving with the current of your destiny, not against it. The hardest part is trusting that if something is truly meant for you, it won't require you to chase it to exhaustion. The right love will meet you halfway. The right opportunity will recognize your readiness. The right dream will inspire you, not drain you. When it's right, you won't have to force it. It'll feel natural, balanced, peaceful. Sometimes we confuse struggle with purpose, thinking that if it's hard, it must be worth it. But there's a difference between challenge and chaos. Growth requires effort, yes, but not force. The right path challenges you to evolve, but it never demands that you sacrifice your peace or self-worth in the process. If it feels like you're constantly swimming upstream, maybe it's time to ask whether you're in the right river. The art of living isn't about pushing harder. It's about aligning deeper. It's about listening to the quiet voice inside you that whispers, "This doesn't feel right." That whisper is your compass. It's your intuition, the universe's way of guiding you toward what's meant fit for you. When you start listening to it, life begins to feel lighter. Doors start opening without effort. People start arriving without pretense. Things just click. And that's when you realize something beautiful. Life was never asking you to fight for what's yours. It was asking you to trust, to stop clinging to things that hurt just because you're afraid of empty hands. because those empty hands, they're not a sign of loss. They're an invitation, an open space for something new, something real, something right. So don't force the door to open. Don't beg the wrong things to stay. Trust that what's meant for you will find you in its own perfect time. Because the truth is, the right things never need to be chased. They recognize you, they flow to you, and they stay with you. Not because you forced them to, but because they were always meant to. Patience. The word alone sounds gentle, but living it takes strength beyond measure. In a world that celebrates speed, we've been trained to believe that faster is better. That success has an expiration date, that if something doesn't happen right now, it might never happen at all. We scroll through lives that look perfect, compare our chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, and panic when things don't unfold as quickly as we hoped. But life doesn't follow our clock. It follows its own divine rhythm, one that's always on time. Even when we don't understand it, every masterpiece ever created took time. The seed buried in darkness doesn't bloom overnight. It endures the cold soil, the weight of silence, the unseen struggle beneath the surface. The caterpillar must dissolve completely inside the cocoon before it ever becomes a butterfly. And the stars, those beautiful, endless lights above us, took millions of years to shine the way they do now. Nothing extraordinary happens instantly. Greatness is always built in patience. The problem is we mistake waiting for stagnation. We think that if things aren't moving, we're failing. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The waiting seasons of your life are not wasted time. They're preparation. The universe isn't punishing you by delaying your dreams. It's strengthening you for when they arrive. You can't rush destiny. You can only grow into it. There's a kind of beauty in divine delay. It teaches you things instant success never could: humility, endurance, and faith. It strips away your need for control and forces you to trust something greater than your plans. Sometimes what feels like not yet is actually life's way of saying, you're not ready, but you will be. The delay isn't denial, it's design. I once met a man who dreamed of becoming a filmmaker. For years he poured everything into his craft, time, energy, and passion. But every door slammed shut. Every opportunity slipped through his fingers. He faced rejection after rejection until the dream began to feel impossible. Yet, instead of quitting, he decided to keep learning, improving, waiting. And then, when the time was right, truly right, everything changed. His first film didn't just succeed, it won international awards. I asked him how it felt, and he smiled and said, "If I had gotten my chance earlier, I would have ruined it. I wasn't ready yet." That moment stayed with me. It reminded me that sometimes waiting is not a punishment, it's protection. We often think we're ready for the things we want, but readiness isn't about desire, it's about alignment. The right things come when you've become the person who can handle them. Life isn't withholding your blessings. It's shaping you so you can sustain them when they arrive. Every setback, every delay, every moment that feels like nothing's happening, it's all part of your preparation. Look back at your life for a moment. There were times you didn't get what you wanted, and thank goodness for that. Because if you had, maybe it would have fallen apart. Maybe it would have broken you instead of built you. Maybe what felt like disappointment then was actually divine redirection. Every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every moment you thought was failure, it was life saying, "Not yet. I have something better. Trust me." We are impatient creatures living in an impatient world. We want quick answers, instant results, overnight success. But the most meaningful things in life, love, purpose, growth, they take time. The strongest trees don't grow fast. Their roots take years to deepen. They face storms, they bend with the wind, but they never break. because what's built slowly lasts. Sometimes you'll look around and feel like everyone else is moving faster than you. They're achieving more, getting further, living the life you think you should already have. But comparison is the thief of peace. You're not behind, you're just on your own timeline. You're not late, you're being perfectly timed. The moment you start trusting that life gets lighter, you stop rushing, you start living. Trust the timing of your life. The people meant for you will find you. The opportunities designed for you will appear. The moments you've been praying for will come when they're supposed to. But if they came too soon, they might collapse under the weight of your unreadiness. So be patient. Keep walking your path, even when it feels slow. Keep showing up, even when no one's watching. Because one day, everything you've waited for will arrive, and it will make perfect sense why it took so long. You don't have to force your story to unfold. You just have to trust that it's being written beautifully, even in the chapters you don't yet understand. Every pause, every delay, every silence, it's all part of the masterpiece that is your becoming. The universe isn't in a hurry, and neither should you be. Because when the timing is right, what's meant for you won't just arrive, it'll stay. So breathe. Let go of the clock. The life you're waiting for is already on its way, moving toward you in its own perfect time. And when it comes, you'll realize it was never late, it was right on schedule.